Acevedo Aesthetics Corp. This is Made in House. It's the show where we chat through various topics on design, culture, and the business of creativity. Now say hello and welcome Carrie and Angel.
All right, everybody. Why do I start every episode like that? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Made in House, another episode. We're so thankful that you're here. Guys, this is like our 30th episode. It's amazing. So we're just excited to just continue having conversations and chatting.
Yeah.
And, hopefully giving some nuggets of wisdom.
Golden nuggets. Shout out to they're called
No,
Golden
do
Nuggets.
not shout out the Nuggets.
For
okay? They beat
beating
Miami.
the Heat.
Yeah, they beat Miami.
Yes. Tragic.
Yeah, R.I.P. I feel like every episode you're going to see that our setup is different because we're still figuring this out. We're at home, guys. We're at home. So we just got some new gear that we're excited about. Mm-hmm. And I just ordered more gear today. And this is just how it is. You start with one thing, lo-fi, and then now you're, full $1 million production, right? What do you think, Ari?
Yeah, we all thought this was going to be easier, but
yeah,
it's all good.
How long did it take us today to set up? Do you want to share?
Okay, so I believe Angel started setting up at 11:30
a.m.
and it is 3:20 p.m.
It's 3:20 p.m. This is correct.
3:20 p.m.
But we're here. So
yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. And I think today's topic is going to be interesting. A lot of things have happened since our last recording, and we're excited to chat through some things today. And we would like to say, of course, thank you for joining, but also share,
like, subscribe, comment,
smash the like button,
all of the things. You know why? We're not saying it for our sake. No, for real. We're saying it because I get questions. Like, we just did a workshop the other day, and the questions that came in, I was like, oh my gosh, watch episode 3, and right. you'll get what you need just by watching an hour of your life. So all to say, we're making this content hopefully that you find answers to things that you have questions on. And so if it's been helpful for you, go ahead and share it. Don't be, what is it that Gen Z says now? Don't gatekeep. So
don't gatekeep.
Share it with a friend, post it on your social media. Nobody's too cool to share other people's content, I'm like, let's support everybody out here. But again, it really is, we're making the content, we're trying to be very intentional with what we're answering and the way that we're answering, the topics that we're selecting, because we want to help young designers out there and people that are just like, they just have questions, and hopefully more people get to listen in and we get a stronger creative community.
The reality is our content is just too good to
You're funny.
For you to hold it.
By the way, I looked
yourself.
at the wide and then I looked at mine. I probably messed that up, just letting you know.
No,
I was supposed to look at
they're
mine.
They're none the wiser. Yeah, look at yours. Look at the new beautiful Fuji cams that we got. Look at that one.
It's really cool.
But first,
we're not doing that today.
What, fit check?
Yeah.
I can do a quick fit check?
2 seconds. Why do we need to do a fit check?
Look at what I'm wearing. It's pretty fresh. All right, fit check. Della, the music.
Wait, I'm not ready.
Okay,
coming in hot with the new fit check. The Make Beautiful Things pullover. I like saying pullover. It's a sweatshirt.
Pull or pull?
Stop, just leave me alone, bro. And what do you call this color? It's like a washed purple. Plum. A washed plum. It's actually a really beautiful color. I like the wash texture of it, but it's available at Acevedo. Ooh, I don't even know the website.
Shop at Made It. Shop.
No. Stop. We have so many links. Hold on. Let's start over. Okay. 1, 2, 3. You can get your Make Beautiful Things pullover at shop.acevedo, ACBDO.co. There you go. It's going to go somewhere here or the links below.
What about the hat?
And the hat, the Made in House hat. Oh, look, I got a mug. Let me try to Look.
Fucking merch. Buy the merch.
¿Cómo se dice esto en español? El mug.
No sé.
No es un vaso. ¿Cómo se dice? La taza.
Thank you, Kari, for that
All right.
amazing fit check.
You know, we do things pretty contrary to all of the marketing advice.
Do we?
Where we just lollygagged at the first 5 to minutes
Sorry.
of the episode.
Oh,
and we kind of need to get into it.
You know, our show is made in house. It's like we're at home, so it's like we're hanging
We're being ourselves.
with our friends at home.
Yes.
This is what we did yesterday at game night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a game
So-
night. All right, let's get into
Great.
our topic.
Let's talk about our topic. Our topic, which is
Our topic today is embracing insecurity. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
before we do that, I want to send us. Even though I covered it because they're not sponsoring us, but I want to send a shout out to Flanagan's. Even though,
Bleep.
I mean, who you can tell if you're from Miami or South Florida, you know where this is from.
You
but-
know, if you're from
So what was the topic again?
embracing insecurity.
Embracing insecurity.
Yes,
Gosh,
sir.
That sounds like I need a tissue box. Embracing insecurity, and I think this came from not just the last workshop we had and the conference where we attended, but just our everyday life. Because I feel like, at least me personally, I'm dealing with insecurity all the time. You know, all the time, and especially in this new season of ours where we are exploring new avenues and new opportunities. As we venture into these waters, the first thing that comes to mind is, can I do this? Or am I even qualified to do this? Or
Right.
do I have the know-how to do this? You know, so where would you like to start as far as insecurities go, Kari?
Well, I think you touched on it in terms of like you still feel insecurities. You've been in the industry for 20 something years maybe. So let's lay the groundwork, like your thoughts overall on insecurity. Just your wisdom of it now, and then I think we have some questions that you guys submitted, and we'll go through those to help navigate the conversation. But let's go ahead and just like, what have you learned over the course of your life? You're 42. You're 42.
Right.
You've been in the creative industry for 20 years, all in Miami, the whole time in Miami. You've worked in a bunch of different industries and sectors. And so what have you learned?
Excuse me. I may say that obviously everything that we say here is our opinions. Of course, this is not anything that we believe as like, especially with things like this where we're talking about feelings and emotions and our experiences. It's what I've experienced and what Kari has experienced. So from my experience and my opinion, this may sound controversial. I do think that a little bit of insecurity is healthy. I think especially when you're starting out. We've spoken about this multiple times, and we've talked about imposter syndrome. We said a little bit about the Dunning-Kruger effect, especially when you're starting out and you're saying you got a project and you're unsure if you can do it, or you don't feel qualified to do it, or you feel that you do not have the skills to do it. That is good energy or good or a good feeling to sort of redirect so that you are able to how do I say this? Redirect that energy so that you're able to work on this project or whatever it is, that the challenge that you have, and be better at it. And what I mean is, if I am starting out, or if I do have this thing that I need to work on, which I did early in my career, and we all do, right? I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I asked a lot of questions because of my insecurity, and I reached out to certain people. Hey, how do I do this? Or who do I talk to? Or what do I do? Because I was unsure of how to do it. And I feel like that may be a good way of redirecting that feeling, so that so that you're not stuck in that emotion of like, oh, I can't do it, and you won't progress forward. For me, I did share this before, where remember I did that flyer. I don't think we ever put it up, but I thought I was like the hottest designer ever, and in retrospect, it was straight trash. It was really, really bad, and that was an opportunity for me where I could have been like, okay, no, this is terrible, like, or compare it to other people. I didn't have anything to compare it to. I just thought of, oh, it's doing all these cool graphics or these cool effects or whatever, and I didn't bounce it off anybody because I didn't think I needed to. So I would say redirect that feeling and have a healthy dose of skepticism and the skills that you have. I know it sounds really bad, but I feel like you can. I don't know. I think it's good now, because being overconfident and having a ton of confidence and being like, I got this or whatever, can also be a little bit detrimental. You have to sort of balance yourself out. So me, 20 years in, I still feel insecure when I'm working on something. I still feel like I don't know what I'm working on, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know what the solution is going to be. And me, this late in my career, I shouldn't be feeling these things. I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like now, where I'm so far along and I have kind of a vast knowledge of different things, I should be confident in what I'm doing, but I still struggle with it. I still struggle with it. So I feel like, I kind of went in different directions, but I do feel like it's something that you're always going to be battling with, because even in this conference, Pastor Denny was saying that he's been in ministry forever. Sorry, not forever, for 40 years, 50 years. I don't remember. That even getting on stage, sometimes he gets nervous. For a person that has so much clout and so much prestige, you still feel it, So when you talk to people that are really good professionals and masterful at their skill, they will always have some sense of, I don't belong here, or what am I doing here, or they're gonna catch me, or Yeah. What about you? Do you feel that? And you've been in the industry quite a while as well. Do you struggle with that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I would have never phrased it. It's good to have a little bit, but I do think that, and I do agree with you. I think there's a lot of that you said. I think there's different things to it. Just to comment on what you were saying about, being overconfident and how that can be detrimental. Feeling insecurities makes you empathetic and relatable to other people. That's really good. Because it's like you and I, we've been doing it for a minute, and we can relate, to the person the kid who's 20 years old and they just started, or the person who's starting a business, or, they've been doing it for however long. And so I do think it's helpful, and I do think it's part of the human experience. And like something key here that I think we're both trying to get across is basically that, you don't get rid of insecurity. I don't think there's a point in your life where it's just like gone forever. I think there's waves to it. There's highs and lows. There's moments when you feel very insecure. There's other moments when you feel less insecure. I think it's always there. Even if you're feeling a little bit more confident, somebody can say something to you and knock that confidence like this. If your mind game isn't where it needs to be, but I do think in different seasons of life, you are confronting and battling insecurity. And I think it's usually at the points where you're doing something new, and Pastor Rich at VOU, he always talks about becoming. It's something that he's kind of been teaching in the last few years. And so you're always becoming. And so if you believe that and you adopt that mindset, then you realize you're never quite complete. You're never quite arrived yet. You're always like in this cycle. And so, there's moments where we are becoming the next iteration of ourselves, that's completely different. We're shedding off the skin of the stuff that we've done in the past, and that's new territory. We may have some familiarity with it. that helps us navigate and make decisions. That's called wisdom. But you still have, insecurity because you're still navigating new waters. And I think it's also a healthy indicator of growth.
Wow.
You're doing new things, you're becoming, which essentially is what we're doing, even in the aging process, or just like buying a house, or like figuring out decisions and finances and what do we do with Avon, and in all of that there's an insecurity in all of it because we haven't been here before,
Right.
So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I love that you said it's like shedding off the skin, and I immediately thought of like sort of how reptiles do that every so often, or birds molt at a certain point, right? And they shed off everything. I think that's such a powerful visual to kind of compare it to, and it kind of goes back to sort of redirecting the feeling, because and something that we've learned is being led by your emotions or by your feelings can be futile, or it could be a problem. Yeah. We have to obviously feeling feelings and expressing them and being able to talk about them is very important, but also you shouldn't let your feelings throw you here and there, because then you're going to be sort of emotionally unstable, or lack a little bit of emotional intelligence in that sense. And unfortunately for creatives, for the most part, because it's relatable for everybody, but for creatives, how we're so attached to our work, as soon as somebody criticizes, or as soon as somebody questions what we're doing and our skill, it's reflected. We feel like it's something that we take personal immediately, So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is an unhealthy version of insecurity, or what happens if somebody's just living on a constant on that sort of constant? I feel like a lot of young designers are in that world where they're like creating stuff, or but they're just all the time insecure, and they're looking for validation from people, or they're posting on Instagram to get likes, or they're looking, you know what I mean? Because I feel like on social media, it's pretty much what it's become. It's like we're posting stuff for that sort of social proof or validation. Yeah. What do you think is an unhealthy version of insecurity, and what happens if you get stuck in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think unhealthy insecurity is you're crippled. You can't move. You're paralyzed, literally. And we all know that feeling, and we know how to identify it. Once you get to a certain level of knowledge and maturity, even in, I think in your early teens, I would say, maybe that's too young. I would say maybe the 20s.
Right.
You know how to identify when you're operating in insecurity, and it's just like you feel untrue to yourself. You feel detached. You feel like an imposter. It's like this really weird feeling of yourself, and then this thing, and because there's a detachment, you're paralyzed. You can't move forward. And so I think when you have things that you aspire for, that you dream about, that you want to try, and you don't do them, that to me is the problem.
Wow.
And it's not failure. I'm not talking about failing. I'm talking about not even starting. Right. Not even doing anything.
Wow.
And I think that's when it's crippling,
wow.
when you're just at a standstill. And that's when I think you need to really find people around you that help build that in you. If you're faith-based, spend some quiet time, pray about it. When we say pray about it, I mean have a conversation with God. There's things in my heart currently that I'm God, remove this feeling. I don't want to feel these things anymore. Help me rework my mindset. It's a conversation and also a practice of now I'm trying to speak more positive, etc. That's the faith-based. But if you don't have those beliefs, and just find people around you, maybe go to therapy if that's something that you feel that is detrimental to yourself. But I think that's what it is, when you're just not doing anything.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. So I like asking you all the questions, I'll pause to send a shout out to Avon.
Yes.
If you can see,
he's so cute. Look at
he's
him.
So cute. Our camera stopped, but Avon's awake, so we may have to take a break in 10 minutes. I did want to bring up one thing, and I don't know if you agree with this. People are often proud of saying, I'm a perfectionist. And They're like, that's my greatest strength is I'm a perfectionist or whatever. But I think, and I don't know if you agree with this, perfectionism is a disguise for insecurity to me, you know, because you're never done. You just want to keep changing and changing and changing because you're unsure of yourself and you're unsure of the final result. And it's like you want to come off as like this sort of, well, I just want to be perfect, or I just want it to be perfect. No, you know, find a solution and let's get moving. Yeah. I feel, you know, I've been guilty of that, and I've used that excuse before. It's like I'm a perfectionist. But we've learned, and this is also through VOUS, like perfectionism kind of paralyzes you from moving forward. You know, do you agree with that? What do you think?
Yeah, I had to think about it and find a moment where I was iterating and why I was, to try and see how I felt. And I think I agree with you. I'm thinking, I'm processing.
Yeah, well, I'll give you, while you process, I'll give you an example. And this is something at the studio where we've learned when we were doing client work, we're doing logo design, which, by the way, this guy's about to blow up. Yeah. Let me just get my thought and then we'll pause. Alan Peters, shout out to Alan Peters, such a great designer. He does beautiful identities. This guy, you know who he is. He says that whenever he works on a project, he gives them 15 different logo options. I don't know if you've seen that before.
You told me this. 15
logo iterations, and then it blew up this whole discourse as to, is that right, or are you doing so many, or whatever. And for him, he says that every new version, he just gets better and better and better. So he loves it. He loves doing 15, at the minimum of 15 concepts, which to a lot of us that have been in the industry a while, it's like, that's wild. You know, I would never. You know, before I used to give a lot of concepts, but I've learned that the more concepts you give to the client, the less confidence you seem, especially if you're an identity expert, because you're kind of letting them, we're like, here's a bunch of concepts. I'm not sure which one, I'm not sure which one I stand behind, you know? Yeah. So there's like these really two interesting schools of thought. Now towards the end, I ended up just showing like one or two concepts, because as a professional, I'm like, well, as an expert, and I just put quote unquote, as an identity designer, this is the direction that I feel like we should go based on, like, remember what we talked about the last time, all the goals that we were trying to reach. So, and that's what I'm saying. We're talking about iterations, and we're talking about that perfectionism that I feel like kind of goes parallel with that sort of concept. You agree?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, that perfectionism can be, I think, experienced in different ways in the creative field. You know, like if you're starting out, it could be like, man, I don't even know how to use Illustrator. I don't even know how to, I don't know, make a collage from Photoshop or whatever. And, you know, and it evolves over time, where like now it's like on clients, like, should I be showing these many concepts? Like it gets philosophical, you know, like very like. Yeah. But I do think so. And I think over time, like I'm at a place right now where I'm just vibing, you know. I think we need to grab our guy. And I feel like the last few years, and I think this has been just from, I think what's happened in the industry recently of like streetwear kind of taking over, like the fashion industry, for example. Yeah. Where I'm like, oh, the rules are like arbitrary. What are the rules? Like all of a sudden, now you have Virgil and Louis Vuitton, and you have Pharrell, and that wasn't the case before, you know? So now I'm just vibing. Like Pharrell just made this entire collection. Yeah. Did I agree with everything? Yeah. No, but it was his response and his reply to the role and what's in his head, and I respect that. Like, let's keep it going, you know? I love that. So I'm kind of like in that mindset of just like just flow, do what's in your heart, what's in your, get it out, you know? It's your reply to what you're experiencing. I love that. And so I just look at it, everybody has a reply. I'm like, cool, let's keep it going, you know? So I don't spend a lot of time currently thinking about getting it perfect. I do spend a lot of time about meeting goals. So does it meet the goal? Is it good enough to do X, Y, and Z? But if it's art and I'm vibing with it, like, let's just go. You know, that's kind of, it's just too much work to keep up everything else.
Send your reply. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. He's full blown chaos.
Yeah. We're gonna take a break. Let's put Bandit up, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back after the I don't know how long break. Shout out to Bandit. We miss him so much. Guys, Avon's here. He's he's laughing. Look, let me just apologize right now because you are going to hear baby sounds, okay? And we are not going to edit them out, all right? We're just going to keep it. This is just part of living in the house, right, babe? So, I love where you ended at, Kari, which we were saying, send your reply. That's kind of like a cool.
Oh, I like that.
Send your reply, you know, artwork.
I love that.
Right. When it comes out to artwork and creative, it's just you're replying to, you're reacting to. I love that. And I think now, this is going to be a cool segment, not a segment, but we have some questions from the previous workshop that we want to answer, which I think it's going to be. Did you just sneeze?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to be distracted the whole time. Okay, so let's just bang out some of these questions. Kari, I'm interested in your take on a lot of this because I feel like your mind, you're so brilliant. Yeah. And we're not putting them up. I'm just going to
read a few of
them.
we're
just going to read some of these questions. This is user submitted content.
Before we,
sorry, go ahead.
Before we answer these questions, I want to ask you something since Avon's here.
Oh my God.
What's something about insecurity that you would like to teach Avon, or that you would hope that he does as he gets older?
Something about insecurity that I hope
as a man,
that I want to teach him, like a dad to a son.
Yes.
I think the most important thing, or the first thing, not the most important, but the first thing that I would like to teach this little guy is that it's okay to feel insecure and it's okay to fail. I feel like in every failure that you may have in life will ultimately make you better and will make you stronger and will make you more competent. And if you're not failing and you're not trying, you're not moving forward in life, you know? So I feel like failure and insecurity kind of goes together. And sometimes insecurity is a fear of failure. And that's what I want to teach him. I want to teach him to be audacious, to be courageous, if you fail, you fail. You just get up and move forward, you know? I feel like he's going to smash it. I think he's going to be good at it.
Yeah, papi?
Right, papi?
All right. That's from your dad to you. One day you'll see
this is recorded in the archivals of the internet.
Yes. Recorded. What's today's date? Today is June 24th, 2023.
We're recording this in June 24th, right. Whenever the heck this comes up.
But that's for Avon. The date's for Avon.
Okay,
so let's get through some of these questions. We don't have to answer perfectly, but let's just do our best.
And we'll put these on the screen, you said? We want to put them on the screen?
Lower third, I think.
On a lower third?
Yeah.
Della, let's put these on a lower third. Over here. I'm like...
We should do like an episode with Della one day.
Yeah.
Okay, since we reference him so much.
Okay.
All right, let's go for it.
Wait, Helvetica bold, a little bit kerned.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, first question. How do you center yourself within your own creativity without letting your insecurities take over?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're just reading it out loud. Read it one more time.
I can answer too, but...
Sure.
Dale.
How do you center yourself?
Within your own creativity without letting your insecurities take over.
Yeah. I think it's important to, and we've talked about this before, where art and design are not the same thing, right? So and I don't want to just limit it to art and design, because you could be creative in a field that's more tactical or that's a little bit more blue collar. There's creativity at play there. So how do you center yourself? I would say, and I feel like I've said this answer before, but don't let your what's the word for career, or don't let your profession, or there's a word for it, but yeah, don't let that be your identity, right? Don't put all your
Craft.
whole, yeah, I love that. Craft is a better word. Don't let your craft be your identity, the only identity that you have. Some people, like, I'm a graphic designer, that's all I am. And I feel like having your identity and your role as a creative be the only thing that you have, it could be, when that's questioned, or when that's critiqued, and when that's attacked, it feels personal, and it feels like someone's attacking me, So how do you center yourself? I feel like separating yourself and kind of looking at it objectively, and being able to understand that you're a work in progress, and you're constantly learning, and you're constantly evolving. And just because you did one thing bad one day doesn't mean that you're going to continue doing that way, or just because you fail at something doesn't mean that you're going to continue. I feel like you just got to take it on a case by case, on a project by project, on a moment by moment. And I don't know if that's helpful, but I feel like that's how I would approach it, especially when you're talking about centering yourself with certain insecurities, And I know that, especially in this conversation, we probably may have answered that question a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What about you?
I guess just some practical things that I tend to do. I try to pay attention to the narrative in my mind, and the things I replay over and over. And I try to identify why they're replaying. And I try to identify how they make me feel. And then from there, I make a decision, and sometimes I can't get rid of those thoughts right away, so then I go into like a prayer practice, I may journal, write things down. I may listen to worship music, like have my quiet time. I also, sometimes I have conversations with trusted friends, and that's helpful, with family, parents, people that you look up to, that care about you for who you are and can like speak into who you are as an individual, leaders, etc. And something that I've been doing recently a lot is reminding me of one is God's promises, and two, it's the convictions that I feel. And this whole thought of I think I said this in one of the early episodes, which was if you can't shake it, own it, and it's like one of those things for me where I'm like, if I feel this really heavy in my heart and I can't shake it, I have to go back to that. And so I can get distracted, I can be like, oh, the show's not getting that many views, or this didn't get that many likes, or it didn't, like, do people care, And at the end of the day, we're doing it because we feel conviction towards filling a gap that we think exists.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we help at least one person with everything that we put out. And that's all that matters, So when I reframe it that way and I focus on like the why and the reason why I do the things that I do, it helps me overcome insecurities and get back to the things that really matter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like, it's like a never ending hole.
Yeah.
It's not worth spending time there.
It's true. And, people gravitate to other people, organizations, projects, and visions that are genuine. I feel like when you're putting stuff out, that you're trying too hard to be, I don't know, a hustler, or you're trying too hard to be an influencer or someone that you're not, people can, they can sniff that right away, Yeah. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Really good.
Cool. Next question?
Next question, yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Sometimes I get stressed because I have a vision, but my skill set is limited to get there. Any tips on how to work through that? So having a vision, limited skill sets, how to get through that.
How to get through it? Get better.
Ooh, baby.
Get good.
Oof,
get good, man.
Angel, there you go. Oof.
I empathize and I completely understand, because I've been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
can be scary. Oh man, I don't know what it is. Just gotta get good. And there's absolutely no excuse. Let me look at the camera. Della, zoom into me. Young people, there is no excuse to not be the best version of yourself in the age and the world that we live in, with technology and information at our disposal. It's all discipline. It's all a matter of discipline. And I'm the most undisciplined person. I still get stuck, and I'm just distracted all the time. But when you're dealing with it, to be fair to the question, I'm not trying to be like mean or anything like that. And I completely understand when you're not prepared and you're not equipped, you feel certain insecurities about getting stuff done. I totally get that. But the fact of the matter is, you have to practice, you have to try, and you have to get good at it. So if there's something that I'm trying to, for example, here's an example. I've said this multiple times, and you know this personally because we're married. I get distracted often, but there's a lot of things that I want to do. Like I want to draw, or I want to learn how to. I bought the Akira storyboards, a book for storyboards for Kari, and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, oh my god, I wish I could do this or whatever. The reality is that my time is limited, and I can't do everything that I want to do. It's just so I have to pick and choose the things that I want to do or things that I want to invest my time in. But it's important to be learning new skills, and learning new things that you could apply to your creative endeavors and to the industry that you're working in. So it's a matter of choosing your time wisely, spending your time, maximizing your time the best that you can. I feel like now that we have a baby, I actually told Chris Doe, I was like, now that we have a baby, we've actually been crushing it we've been a lot more productive, I feel, than we have before. Before we had all the time in the world, and we could have done all these things before. We could have started our podcast before. We could have started all these sort of side projects before, and we never did. But it took the Spotify layoffs, and it took us switching careers and having a baby to finally be like, you know what, we need to change the way we're spending our time, So I think, like I said, at least for the young people, there's no excuse for not improving your skills. There's no excuse for it. It's just too easily accessible, literally. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at the baby, or are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at you or what you're saying. I just think the reason you're saying what you're saying is because you come from the 2000s and where things weren't as available. So that's my smirk is related to that. Do
you think, but do you agree or you don't agree with me? You think
I agree with you. I have a different opinion.
Okay, sure. I want to know.
But not, okay. That's not the right way to say it. I have a different take on it because, I think there's different scenarios where this can come up.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the person's fault or like responsibility.
Sure.
And it comes from like who I am, where, for example, me as a creative director, I have certain skill sets. I lack others. Like I talk about this often. I'm not an illustrator. I don't really draw. I can process ideas on a piece of paper, but to be this person who like illustrates, no. And sometimes I have ideas that require an illustrator, that requires somebody that's a really great storyteller or a really great videographer or a person who knows really good lighting, because I want a certain mood and a certain tone, and I don't have that skill set. Realistically, I can't necessarily be proficient in all of those. I have to focus on how can I be a better creative director, and how, that's where a lot of my energy goes into. So my answer to that is collaboration. Now, your answer was as an individual getting started, if you want to be a graphic designer, but you're lacking the skills of how to use the software, for example, or how to arrive to good solutions, then your answer applies. Right. If you've been at it a little bit and you just feel limited. There's many times where I feel
Oh, yeah.
limited, where I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could get this idea out, and I can't. And then I'll look at somebody like Virgil. I'm
Yeah.
wearing Virgil. The guy is like a hero to me. But when you look at his trajectory, the other day, sometimes I do this while I'll scroll through an Instagram page and I'll try to get to the very beginning to see the process.
The progress. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you scroll back, you don't see the Virgil that we had every day before he passed, you know? There was a progression over time.
Yeah.
And a lot of what he was able to do towards the end of his life was in collaboration. Different teams. He had the LV team, he had Off-White. He would do these collaborations, you know, with like furnishings and like objects and different things like that. And they were all from him and iterations of him, but he couldn't be at every place. And that right there's a limitation.
That's good.
And he doesn't necessarily, he did Mercedes. You think the guy, he was an architect and an engineer. So I don't want to say that he doesn't necessarily know how to build a car, but you only get to do that kind of work through collaboration.
Right.
And so that's my answer. That's just the headspace that I'm in right now. It's a little different from your take. So it's cool that we have different answers, because I think it gives people different perspectives.
Yeah.
And you see things differently as you evolve in life, depending on your role and what you're doing.
You know, I'm one that I struggle with collaboration.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Why? I didn't
I
know
struggle in the sense of, we were talking about delegating at the workshop, remember? And
Okay.
even I struggle with that. I see it. I see that sort of not one and the same, but I see
Okay.
them as siblings. Collaboration and delegation, there's sort of siblings,
Okay.
you know, though they're or
No,
cousins
yeah,
maybe.
You're right.
And I struggle with that. I struggle with allowing people, and you know this firsthand, especially with Gaia, allowing people to take over certain things or have input on certain things, especially with God as a Designer project, which is something so close to my heart, you know. And you're 100% right. Virgil and a lot of these high concept or high caliber creatives in any industry, the reason they are the way they are and they got as far as they did is because they went with people.
Yeah.
They didn't go by themselves. So
So for sure, work on your skills.
yeah.
Depending, if you're a graphic designer, be
I
the
feel like
best.
it's a two-parter.
Yeah.
Part one is get good at what it is, and part two is learn how to collaborate with others.
At some
you know?
point, you have to admit what your limitations are, and you have to collaborate with people if you're trying to get somewhere. If you're happy just doing your own thing by yourself, and great. But if you have like these big visions require a lot of people, and so that's part one, part two.
Dang.
All right, let's do, I think, one more.
I think we got one or two more probably.
Yeah,
We have time.
because I think we're close to the 40-minute mark.
To the
already.
mark, yeah.
Okay, let me see. Okay, let's do this one. How do you know you've got the gift to be creative? Sometimes you are scared of sharing your work because you're worried you are not good enough.
Okay, so we've talked. I feel like we've said this before. Maybe with a lot of things we've said before, but I'm of the mindset that every human being, regardless of their vocation was the right word, vocation,
Yes.
is inherently creative. Now, when we say creative, in society, we think immediately the arts, right? Immediately, creativity is in the arts, but I believe creativity touches every aspect of every career and every job in existence. Because creativity is problem solving is what I think. It's like finding solutions to problems in different ways. And sometimes when there's challenges, that's when you're the most creative, because you're able to, when there's challenges and when there's time constraints, you're able to find like creative solutions, you know? So read the question again for me one more time.
How do you know you've got the gift to be creative? You answered
Right,
that first
right.
part. Second
Then
part
part
of the
two.
question was, sometimes you're scared of sharing your work because you're worried you're not good enough.
Right. And this is also like a two-part thing. I think I mentioned already that it's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel insecure. You just need to repurpose try to repurpose it and try to not only acknowledge it, but see how you can, what it is that you need to learn to sort of overcome it. But part two is a lot of the times that we're scared or afraid or we're fearful of sharing is because of criticism, because people are going to demean us and say things like, you're not good, or there is, and I'll use this platform to say it, I feel like people are quick to dismiss criticism as haters, right? Quickly. Oh, haters. Oh, haters. There are haters. But there is also valid criticism to some of the things that we put out, you know? And it's not just haters. You just have to be able to sift through and get whatever. Maybe people are not very good with giving constructive criticism or constructive feedback, but you should be able to take some of that and apply it and learn from it, you know? And I did share this at the workshop, but something that Chris Do that I learned from him, and I think he shared this with the Future Pro Group. I don't remember what he said this, and I'll phrase it like this. This isn't how he says it, but I'll phrase it like this. Bless you, papi. Bless you. Oh, papi. Okay, so I'll say it like this. If you live for people's praises, you will die by their criticisms, right? So what that means is, especially on social media, on Instagram, since we're most active on Instagram, when we post something, we didn't get enough likes, we didn't get enough comments, or people just didn't like it, or they're like, I don't know. I whenever you go on these bigger pages, like these, I follow these big designers, they get thousands of likes, but the comments can be brutal, man. They can, because people feel more comfortable. They disassociate, like you know, and I'm guilty of it. I'm like, oh, they'll never see this. But the funny thing is, you could get 100 comments or 99 comments, and that one comment that's negative, that's the one you're gonna remember,
right? Not
the other ones. So I feel like it's important to, not necessarily that you don't have to give weight to either or, but it's important to gauge and to not let the praises or the criticisms change how you feel or impact you personally. You know, you're dealing with a lot of strangers, and I feel like a lot of the fear that comes out of that, of, man, I'm not good enough, not is because people are afraid of getting criticized or getting, you know, called out, you know, and that's all part of the imposter syndrome as well, and that has a lot of sort of those connections, you know. But what do you think? Or what's your perspective on that?
I get it. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
And it's rough.
Yeah, it is rough.
So, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, time brings confidence, you know. Time is key. Oof. You know, like, we don't often like time to pass. Yeah. But time passing is what reveals things and where growth comes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and so I love the season that I'm in, the age, and I feel like it's only going to get better. I heard Oprah say that one time. I think when she turned 50, she's like, I'm living my best life, you know? And I think that as I've gotten older, that's been the case. But what I would say is, don't live worried. Like, it's not worth living worried, you know? You're being disobedient when you're worried. So shout out to the Bible, the New Testament.
Shout out to the Bible.
But okay, you got to share your work. It's part of the process of being a creative. You make things for people. You don't make things to just put it in a dark room. That's a sad story, you know? Right. And there's an exchange. You know, you put something out, somebody receives it, and they respond to it. Like, so for me to not expect a response or a negative response, it's a little unfair. So just be open and wise to the fact that there is an exchange and it's part of it. Criticism is part of a discipline too. Like, we both went to art school and we would get critiqued. Like, our work, we would have to do presentations and present in front of people. And like, if your project was the best one, they would put it in the hallway in the little bulletin board.
I remember that.
Oh man, yes, I remember. But if your project didn't make it, you felt pretty bummy. Yeah. You know, portfolio review, brutal. You know what I mean? Like,
Alex Harrier with the Sharpie.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah. And so, and the last thing that I would say is, it's okay to be transparent about where you are in life. So like, for example, if you want to post something and you're feeling that way, add it to your caption, you know, like, let's have a conversation about it. Like, you don't have to hide all your feelings and put a facade of like, I got it all together. You know, sometimes like some of my best posts on Instagram are the ones where I'm the most vulnerable, and that's scary. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should write this or if I should post this or whatever. But that vulnerability and me just putting it out there for the sake of it helping somebody else, there's a return on that, you know. But again, if I would just be worried about it, it wouldn't have I wouldn't have seen that it was helpful for people. So at the end of the day, bottom line, it's part of it. Put it out. Deal with it as you need to. If it gets to a point where it's like you're putting it out and it's really affecting you, stop, pause, work on yourself, work on it, and try to get back on the,
you know. And I do want to say, because I feel like I can be a little harsh when it comes out to some of these, and probably because of my generation, I'm Gen X, and it's just, I don't know, we're just different. I do want to say that in the age that we live in now, it's a lot easier to be a jerk online, you know. It's a lot easier for just to post anonymously and post like your thoughts unfiltered and whatever. Back in 90s or 2000s, whatever, you had to talk. It wasn't like that. You didn't have anonymity, and you didn't have, so it's, and the better you, or the higher you go, or the better you get, the more criticisms you're going to get. Exactly. So it's just part of it. It's part of it. I always say, I know this guy, I always say this, Kari, and you know this, that I feel like I thank God that, me personally, I don't know about you, but me, that I'm not famous, because I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I can handle fame. You know, I'm glad, you know, that we're in kind of under the radar. You know what I mean? I mean, we're doing stuff, but it's not, you know, it's not at that level. But anyway, just take it easy on yourself. Take it easy. It's okay. Just, you know, reach out to your peers.
Reach out to your peers. Okay.
I think that's all the time we have, guys.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. And
let me turn this one on real quick. All right, everybody. Well,
stupid radio voice.
It's not my radio voice, man. Why don't you finish? Why don't you do the outro?
All right, friends. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 5. Thanks for being part of the conversation. If this was helpful to you, again, share it. Don't be a gatekeeper. Share it with a friend. And shout out to Avon, who did pretty good this episode. Good job, babe. I love you. You're full of wisdom. And we'll see you guys on the next episode in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Have the best week. And as always,
keep making beautiful things.
There you go. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for joining Made in House. On your way out, if you would be so kind to follow, subscribe, and or like our episode in the relevant social media platforms. Feel free to share this episode with your colleagues. And, as always, keep making beautiful things.